Hey guys, do you want to know how to make a custom cosmetic shop in UEFN that saves? Well, I'll show you today. First, what we're going to start off by doing is importing our custom model. So I've made one and left that in the Discord. You can find that in the link in the description in the UEFN downloadable section. We don't need to change any of the settings, so we can just click import all. Once imported, you should delete the materials that are for the hat. The reason why I say this is because the materials were a little corrupted. So what we'll do is create a folder called materials and make a black material, and inside of that we're going to go to the base color, change it to black, save it, and then we could save everything, and then we'll duplicate it, call it white, change the base color to white, save it, and then go into the mesh and change the materials inside of there. After that, what you're going to want to do is right click the mesh, go to scripted actions, and convert to a prop. Afterward, what you're going to want to do is make a Niagara system, which is the type burst. You can name this VFX whatever you want. I just called it Top Hat Cosmetic VFX. So now we can go ahead and open it up, and what we're going to do is we're going to delete most of this stuff here, like the sprite renderer, everything mostly in particle update. So now we've done that. We want it to look like kind of like this, and then we're going to add a particle spawn static mesh location, but actually we want to move that into particle update. That was a mistake I made. And then the mesh sampling, we want to put sockets. Okay, and then in renderer, we're going to add a mesh renderer, and then inside of where it says meshes, you can put the mesh we want for the cosmetic. Okay, in our case, we're going to put a top hat. Okay, and we're going to see it's kind of a little broken, and there's actually a reason for that. What we need to do is go back, go to materials, and we need to check the attribute we used with Niagara mesh particles on both black and white materials, and this applies for the materials you're going to use for any cosmetic you make. Now, once we head back in to the Niagara system, we can see when we compile changes and save them, we see that our mesh is looking good now. Now I'm just going to quickly head back, because if we go to the content folder and we drag out the top hat, we see it's gigantic, and that's not going to fit on the player's head, right? So we need to fix that. So we're going to go back to our Niagara system, and in there we have to go to the mesh renderer, open that up, and then we have to change the scale to however we like. You can just follow what I do, which I will be changing later because it is going to be a little too big. So now we can go to the pivot offset, which is however far and close we want to the player, and change that however we want. For my case, I'm making a hat, so I'm gonna just increase the Z a bit, and we can see how it looks on a player when we test it out. Now we can save everything, and then we're going to search up VFX in the all folder, and we're going to drag out the VFX power up. This is the device we're going to need. So we're going to put infinite duration. We're going to keep respawn on, time to respawn 0, ambient audio, we don't need that. We're going to put a custom effect for the visual effect. We're going to select our effect for the custom effect, and then we are going to set the socket to the head. Because this is a hat, you can set it to something else if you're making another cosmetic. After you're good with that, now we're going to go to verse explorer, and we're going to make a new verse script, and we're going to call it cosmetic _shop _device. Okay, and we're going to create that. All right, when you open it up, you can paste in the script from the link in the description if you have the Voxium subscription, or you can copy it down from me. So first we have our using statements, so we're connecting to the Fortnite APIs. And then we have our handler, which lets us pass through a parameter with a subscription function. And then we have our cosmetic player data, and that's where we're going to store the player's data for their cosmetics. And then we have the cosmetic item, which is how you will be able to add more items that you can sell. And it has all of our editables for the power up, the trigger, the prop, and all that. And you can change the price. And then we have our shop device, our first little bit of it. So we have the cosmetic array. And then we have our logic if you want to save or not. Okay. And then we have our on begin, where we check when the player joins. And then we also check for every item, all the shop items. We subscribe the button to an interact event so we could buy it. And then we also have another function which makes the prop go up and down and levitate and rotate. And then in the on player spawn, what we do is just create the player data values. And we check if they have save data, and we give them back what they've had. Okay, and then next what we have is when the player tries to buy it, what we basically do is check if they have enough money. If we enabled want save, we check if they have enough money. Then if they do, then what we do is we add it into our arrays for the player. And then you can unequip it if you want and all that. And yeah, that's basically it for the code right there. So now what we're going to do is build the verse code. And then we're going to go to our content folder, drag out our device. And then we're going to want to create a new array value for one of our shop items. And then if you want to save, you can click that or not. I'm going to want to save it just to show you guys that it can save. And now we have to add all these values there. So we put in the VFX prop that we made earlier right there. And now we need a trigger device. So now we're going to go back to all and we're going to search up trigger. We're going to grab out the trigger. And we don't need to change any settings in there. We can just go back to our device and select our trigger there. Okay. And now we need to put our prop, which we also made earlier. So we just go into our custom props folder. We drag out the prop. Obviously gigantic, you want to change the size. So we're just going to make that smaller right now. We're just going to move that down a little. Okay, that looks a little better. But now we're going to go back to all. We're going to search for a button now. And now we're going to drag out our button. I want to place it right there. And that's how the player is going to buy this item. Of course, you can make it free if you want. So now that we've placed it however we wanted, now we can select our prop and a button, and we can set the price however we want. So I'm just going to set it to 0 because I want it to be free so I can test it out. And now we can launch the session. One thing I do want to point out though is to make sure you fix this issue where we need to drag the static mesh location into particle update so it works correctly. Okay. Also, what I'm going to do is just adjust the pivot offset a bit more from my hat because it was a little too low. Alright, so now we're going to go into the game and we're going to press the button. So we see it is working pretty nicely. However, the thing is, we look under the player, we see that the bottom is just gone. So what we have to actually do to fix that is go back to our materials. And in each of our materials, we have to turn on something called double-sided, okay? Or two-sided. So we have to just do that for each material, and we should be good to go. Something we did forget to do, though, is we need to go to the VFX power-up, okay? And we need to make it so we clear it when this trigger is triggered. The reason why is because for some reason verse doesn't have a clear function. Very annoying. But yeah, so now we could test it out, and if we go into the game, we can click the button. Boom, we see that the bottom is fixed now, and we can unequip it as well, and it will save too. So that's it. Voxel out.